Hello and welcome to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. And I'm your host, Bo Eckstein. And today we have a very special guest. And many of the viewers know that I'm always interviewing great people. And today I really wanted to invite somebody to the show who represents the women investors out there, because I probably interview mostly men. Not out of choice, just because I just know a lot of guys that invest in real estate. But it's nice to have a lady on the show today who actually has a network to inspire women, which is great. So and it's also Valentine's Day, so it's a great day for this. And I'm gonna take my wife out to dinner, and I just bought her some chocolate covered strawberries. So I did the right things today.
There you go.
So Liz Faircloth is co-founder of the DeRosa Group in 2005 with her husband, Matt. Liz is the co-founder of the Real Estate Invest Her community, a platform to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life on their own terms through over 50 meetups across the US and Canada, and an online community and membership that offers accountability and mentorship for women to take their business to the next level. She is the co-host of the Real Estate Invest Her show and recently published Invest Her's first book, which is an Amazon bestseller, The Only Woman in the Room, Knowledge and Inspiration from 20 Successful Real Estate Women Investors. Liz has been on many different podcast platforms, Bigger Pockets, The Best Ever Show. And on a personal side, Liz is an avid runner, has completed several triathlons and marathons, has 2 adorable children, and is a New York Mets fan. Well, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
All right. Well, so you've been in real estate since 2005. So as you're getting into real estate, 2 years in, 3 years in, the big kind of crash happened.
Yep.
So how did, I guess getting in the business at 2005, did you get hurt in 2007, 8, or were you just getting started and kind of took advantage of all those opportunities, or did you have to kind of fix some problems as you got into real estate investing?
Fix problems, probably be more. I wish we were in a little bit of a different position when the crash happened, where we could have just been waiting and pounced on all the opportunities. We did get into new things, but when the market crashed, we had a decent sized portfolio. We were also flipping houses in an area that we had to convert to rentals. So the money we thought we were going to be able to flip and make didn't turn out the way, we wanted it to. So we had to kind of reboot and just, make those rentals. Same time, we bought an office building. And when the market crashed, there's a 10,000 square foot building. We kind of went away from our multifamily focus and bought a commercial property only with a line of credit, long story. And what ended up happening was it was tough because the market crashed. No company of that size wanted a 10,000 square foot building to take that kind of risk on. And it was also in a up and coming urban community that still was struggling with development and money influx of money coming into the city. It just wasn't, in New Jersey, Trenton, our capital, still was struggling with, making a name for itself and who was investing in the city and those sort of things. So, we had this vacant building. The market crashed. Our rental portfolio was doing okay. It was surviving. And then we had a bunch of flips just turned to rentals. So it was tough. I'll say that. I also had quit my job around the same time to join my husband full time. So all those things were pretty intense for us. And so we just started to deal with one thing at a time. And the commercial building, we ended up splitting up into small offices. So even to this day, we have about 20, tenants, all small business owners. So we literally just took the big building and cut it up into small offices, and that worked. And then we kind of kept going with our single family homes until the time came that we have sold all those since. But we just looked at the market and said, okay, what's the right time? So you have to kind of head your goal with the market. Right. And what you want to do is not going to always be able to be done with the market that you're in, the local market, the national market. And, you have to kind of be mindful of all that when you're getting into projects, and quite honestly have multiple exit strategies. Had we been more mindful of all those things when we purchased some of these assets, we probably would have done a few different things, early on. But, it created a lot of opportunity to learn and to figure things out and to get moving. So anyway, that's a little bit about what we experienced during it. And then really, quite honestly, 2010, when things were moving out, we really started to partner with people and really go in with specific, really specific partners. That's where our private money business really kind of launched and started partnering with people. So had we not been through what we needed to been through, we wouldn't have saw those opportunities that really launched us in the, from small to now large multifamily focus.
And I think that's so important because I got really hurt in the downturn, and it was very humbling. And it took a lot out of me. I was in my 20s, and it was just like, I thought I was going to be this big real estate tycoon, and boom, this happened. I was a residential mortgage broker. That business halted. And so it's interesting, like the people that have been around in real estate investing, because I look at a lot of my younger generation friends, and all they've seen is 2010 to where we're at today.
Agreed.
And they don't have the calluses on their hands or their minds. And I think over time they're gonna have to get those calluses. And this has been one heck of a real estate run. And I don't think any of us have a crystal ball on what's going to happen. I know there's shortage of housing, right? But you've been around and you've seen it. And I think that's important for people. Like in real estate, you're going to struggle and you have to work problems out. It's not like everything goes the right way, but I think real estate is the best tool out there for anybody to create long-term wealth. But you have to know that it's not this easy thing. It's not like it's going to just be home runs all the time. If you bought real estate, if you bought real estate the last couple of years, yes, it's appreciated and you made tons of money, but you got to remember there's going to be these times where we're going to have to work things out and keep pushing forward. So it's good to have people that have been in real estate prior to 2005. I got a lot of people that are the younger generation that come and talk and they haven't experienced any cycles in real estate. So that's why I'm kind of stressing the point.
Yeah.
Can you talk to our viewers about how you started your investor network and how did that come to be? And I know you're going to have a conference coming up. You can also talk about that. That's good for anybody that's watching this.
Absolutely. So, many years ago, about 4 years ago, at the time, my friend and partner, Andres, and I were working on a number of projects together, along with our, at the time, husbands, the four of us. And we came together to do, started to get outpriced in New Jersey with flips. And we really wanted to go into Philadelphia. So we actually met on BiggerPockets, started a network with each other, support each other, became really good friends. And then she had an opportunity that she's like, hey, let's partner on this flip. So we ended up doing a handful of real estate deals together. And during that time, Bo, we would get together and we were experienced women, but we were looking to grow, and scale and build our own businesses. And as always, and we would be like, where are the other women in this business? We went to conferences, we went to meetups, and quite honestly, women were never the keynotes. A lot of the meetups were always fairly male dominated. And we knew women invested. We just didn't know a lot of them, to be honest with you. And we knew they were out there. We knew there was a lot of them. We just didn't know them. And we thought, well, how neat would it be to interview women, just women, where we can share their stories and creating financial independence on their own terms, because women are going to do it differently than men. And rightfully so. Men have their strengths, women have their strengths. And so we really wanted to create a safe space for women to give and get support, something that we wish we had when we started. And something that we all need along the journey, whether you're financially free, you're not financially free, whether you're lending, whether you're the borrower, you're always ebbing and flowing. You're always growing on a journey. It's not like you're done. So we wanted to create that environment. So we started with a podcast and we didn't know if anyone would listen. We were told early on that we would run out of women to interview, and I had friends tell me that, good friends, male friends tell me that. And I said, I don't think we'll have a problem. But I was told that. This was in 1955. This was 4 years ago. So we kind of said, okay, I don't think we'll have a problem. There's plenty of women. We just don't know them all. And, 200 plus episodes later, we have not run out of women to interview. There's a lot of women investors. And I think what's really exciting is that kind of led into just building this community. We were very community oriented, and we still are, because that's what women want. Do they need more content? Everyone knows how to flip a house. Google it. Not that hard. I mean, it actually is pretty hard. Flipping actually was probably one of the hardest niches me and my husband embarked on, to be perfectly frank with you. So you can learn you can learn theoretically what to do to flip a house, but then the doing of it, right? The experience of it, how to navigate the contractor who screws you, and the project that takes longer, and all the things that happen in every one of these niches. So we said, how cool would it be to have like a community of women coming together so they can share experiences, give and get support. So that became just like a Facebook group with 50 women we knew, and now it's 10,000 women, that Facebook group. We started with a meetup in Philadelphia where women in person could come together. Our vision is to create an intimate global platform where women can come together in a local way to give and get support, and also do it on a global perspective. And that one meetup has turned into 55 meetups around the country, 2 in Canada, and our community is growing. So 2 years in, we're not looking to necessarily just do this. It was our passion, and still is. But women started to ask for more things like, well, how about accountability and masterminding and group support and education? So we created a membership. It's called our Strive membership. We have about 90 women in that. And that really is much more for like experienced women, at least 5 to 10 deals, where they're looking for accountability, masterminding, and they're each on pods specific to their niches. So from syndication to out-of-state investing to short-term rentals. So we've kind of put things together in place that we were asked, if you will. And so, it's neat. It's exciting. We continually are very mission oriented to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life, because balance is not always easy. Balance is, right now I'm on a podcast. That's where I am. I'm not a mom right now, right? I'm not a wife. I'm literally speaking to you, trying to give my best here. Balance can be sometimes hard, right? After I'm done with this, I'm in mom mode, right? I have to help my son with homework, which I know is the next thing. I'm not trying to think about that, but yet women are always, they're solopreneurs. There's a lot going on for them. So we wanted to create that space that they can live life on their own terms and create the financial freedom through real estate on their own terms. Not always easy to accomplish. So that community, that like kind of close-knit community to kind of lift each other up and hold each other accountable is really what we're about. And then we have our inaugural Investor Con in Charlotte, North Carolina this June. We're really excited about. It's June 23rd, 24th. It's going to be at the Westin, and Kim Kiyosaki is going to be our keynote. Really excited about that. And this is going to be so not the traditional conference. This is literally going to be a transformational experience where women leave and, small, they're going to meet close group of women. They're going to be meeting a lot of different women, business, content on business, speakers on investing, of course, and obviously self-care, which are our 3 pillars of everything we do. And they're going to leave not just inspired, but, connected and really deeper connections. That's what women want. This is not going to be just like, let's pass out 50 business cards, because that's not how women do it. They do it by building relationships, one person at a time. And we're going to create literally the perfect environment for women to get that, and to have a couple of days to each other, mindful networking, some downtime, to just take a breath, right? Because that's important too. So that's what we're up to. And that's what we're pretty pumped and excited about.
I love it. I could tell how passionate you're about it, how passionate you are about this, like your group, your community that you started. And I felt that. So that's awesome. I love the passion. I could totally feel that. And I was telling you before we got on recording that I got married a little over 2 years ago. My wife is from Mexico, and I'd love for her to be around a group of women because I encourage her, because in Mexico, they're taught to be good employees. Like, she's got her master's degree, she's a school teacher, and I'm always now sharing the real estate journey with her. And I really want her to get involved and understand entrepreneurship, because I said, listen, that's the beautiful, as a lot of people complain about the United States of America, entrepreneurship here is, in a lot of countries, like in Mexico, you don't have the same opportunities that we have here. And so, like, I want to teach her, or not teach her, I want her to get around women to encourage her to learn about entrepreneurship, because it's so important. It's so I've pretty much been my own boss for over 20 years. And have I struggled? Yes, but it's so important. And I think that brings us to the next kind of talking point is, how did you grow the way you did? Because you started with single family, and I think then maybe it was smaller multifamily, like 8 plexes and 12 plexes. And then I think one of your last acquisitions was like $80 million acquisition. It's just amazing. Although it's been almost 20 years of real estate investing, how you were able to grow so quickly, and what does that look like? And I heard you talk about partnering, and I think it would be kind of interesting to hear how you strategically scaled your business.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I don't know if I would agree that it was fast, or, because it felt like until we got really focused, Bo, it wasn't until we got focused that we were able to scale quicker. And I feel like what a good lesson, right? Sometimes when you're all over the place, things take longer. So I think once we decided to focus on multifamily only and let go of some of these other ventures, the commercial building, raw land, flipping, we were able to really go, double down and focus on that aspect. We always had success with multis, and then we said, okay, let's really focus on our niche here. And so, one of our first private money partners, we bought 2 single family homes. It wasn't a syndication. It was literally, we were 2 active partners. And, he brought the money and other things to the table. We brought, our expertise in the area and landlording to the table, and came together, 50-50 partnership. And then that kind of led into other private money partners. And then a couple of years later, we went from like that 2 single family homes to a 10 unit, to an 18 unit, to a 49 unit. So it literally was like, and then 198 unit. And now we've been in larger multi. Our latest project we're literally still in the midst of, we're almost fully subscribed, is a 670 unit, complex, which is, to your point, about $60 million in purchase. So it's just evolved, right? And now we have this great team. But I think getting focused on what you really want to double down on in this business is important, but sometimes we don't know that. So starting to say, and at that point, 2010 and 2009, we were having some losses, right? We were having some wins. And I remember Matt and I saying, like, what do we really, whatever we had success, what do we really want to get focused on? And then it's almost like, where can you mitigate your risk? And multifamily was the best spot to mitigate your risk. And we knew it, we knew it well enough. I said, okay, if we start to look elsewhere, we can use those same skills that we've used in our hometown. So that's why we always had a 30-minute radius, and then started to buy outside of that 30 minutes. So we went an hour and a half driving, and then we went down to the Southeast, where the Northeast, Jersey, where we've done all our investing for many years, just started to not make sense financially due to taxes and things like that. So it evolved for us, but I think focusing on niche and then listening to the market and then figuring out how you partner with others is critical. I will say on the partnership side, that takes time, especially on syndications, and I always say, you need to have, if you're great at raising private money, you probably need somebody on an operational level, right? And if you're great operationally, you probably need that outside person who's really great at raising private money, and depending on how you want to structure your syndication. So we built partnerships slowly, and that's also helpful. Like our first partner on the 49 unit was my husband's cousin, who had experience in multifamily. He lived in the area that we were investing, and he became one of our GP partners. That was him and us, right, as GP partners on a 49 unit. Well, then that grew as we got into the 198. The 2 of us weren't enough, right? We needed somebody who's better with underwriting 198, and somebody who's going to asset manage and really be there, really be on top of the property management company. And fulfill the business plan, because that's what syndication multifamily is all about, right? What are you setting out to do, and fulfilling that and exceeding your investors' expectations. So it evolved, and now we have a core team of 5 that has evolved. That didn't happen overnight, and I think the key is to know where you want to go, know what you bring to the table, really know and own what you bring to the table, and then start to say, what are the gaps? And in multifamily syndication, it's not rocket science. There's some key roles, and you got to find the deal, you got to finance the deal, you got to manage the deal. and you got to underwrite it. I mean, there's a lot of other things. I'm simplifying, but let's be frank. Those are the really important pieces of the puzzle beyond everything else. And it's quite honestly creating and managing the team and fulfilling on your business plan, and who's going to do that, and to know where you are and what you bring to the table. I can't stress that enough. That's a lot of the work we do. But like people will say, well, what should I get involved in investing, and what market should I get into? What niche should I get into? Great questions, not the first two. Let's like make that the fifth and the sixth and the seventh question. First questions are like, what are your money goals? Like, what do you bring to the table? What do you do better than anyone else you know? Start there, because you cannot figure out, especially in the partnership level, and especially building a team, how you can add value if you don't A, know it, and B, articulate it when you meet, and see it when you meet people and go, oh, they are amazing at that. I'm not. How do we partner? And it's hard, right? Working with different personalities and different people is not always easy because you're different. It's struggle sometimes, but you do need each other. So
I just read the book, or actually listened to it on Audible, Who Not How, and everything you were saying, I'm just like, that's right.
Yeah.
Who not how. You need a person to fill this seat that can do these things, and that's the thing. I think we often have to is realize what our strengths are really, right? Because until you actually can do that, then you can find the team members that can fill in the gaps there. That was really great how you're explaining that. As far as do you manage these assets in-house? You have your own property management company, or now are you using third-party managers typically?
We're using third-party managers. What we focused on, Bo, was 3 markets. So everything that we've been buying as of late, even the 670 unit, are all they're all in the markets that we already have the established relationship. So yes, we're using the third-party management company, but we're really going all in with them and developing a long-term relationship. That helps. I know some syndicators who bring it in-house, which makes sense. And for us, because we've been able to build some really powerful strategic relationships with a couple property management companies, we're going to have over 1,000 units just in Lexington, Kentucky, right? So we're literally their largest, the property management company's largest, client. And there's something to be said for that, right? They're going to start, they're literally building staff around our portfolio. They have already, of course, on a local level, but even just from a city perspective. Same with Winston-Salem. We had a 334 unit building there, and that will double with this recent acquisition with a few other buildings. So, I'm a fan of that. If we were going into a ton of different markets, having to meet new property management companies, start from ground zero, I'm not saying we won't go into new markets, but that does take time. It takes energy. We've had to fire a couple property management companies, and that's hard. That just takes time and energy, and there's a whole revamping that needs to happen with the asset manager, and not always the easiest thing. We had to do that in a property we had in North Carolina that we've since sold. So yeah, I really like the idea of when people focus, they focus, and they build those strategic relationships, even if it's a third-party management company. That's a big thing, and I'll also say when you're vetting third-party managers, I highly recommend that those folks not only have an expertise in the market, pretty obvious, but they have an expertise on 2 other things. One being the asset class that you're going into. Quite honestly, Class B property in Houston, Texas is different than workforce housing, Class C in a middle income area. 2 different assets that need to be managed in different ways. So make sure your property management company, small, large, medium, knows the asset class, like the type of property that you're buying, because value add's not created equal. There's a little value add, then there's like turnaround projects, totally different types of property management companies and we made that mistake. I say that because we've made that mistake. So just something to be mindful of, that property management company has expertise in your size of property and not beyond market size of property and the type of property you have, because a turnaround Class C property is different than a slight value add Class B property.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break. Are you looking for funding? Are you getting frustrated trying to find a lender? Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and click the Get Funding button. Complete the simple form and schedule a free phone consultation with one of our placement specialists. We have a proprietary directory of funding partners that can help you get the funding you need. It's fast and easy to explore the options available for your specific needs. Don't wait. Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and get connected.
Where do you find your strength, and like where do you fit in the equation? Like where do you focus your attention in the business?
So I've had so many different roles with DeRosa over the years. My husband and I started it. I quit my job, like I said, in 07, 08 and joined him full time. You know, as we navigated our business, then I actually went back to the job that I left because we were so at odds with each other, with the business, everything. So 2010, I actually went back to my old job and then left it again in 2013 to have my son. But, you know, ever since then, Bo, is I have a role, and then I was doing all of our investor relations for many years. So I was literally cultivating all, like, you know, a lot of we have over 300 investors now, right? So someone was at the helm of just serving our, you know, our investors. You know, I have, since InvestHer kind of took off and we're growing that company, I've taken a little bit of a step back from DeRosa from a day-to-day perspective. I'm more involved strategically in the day-to-day. You know, my husband and I have learned over 16 years of working together and investing together with what works for our relationship and what works for us. And my husband and I are very similar. So not that I don't add value, because I do. You know, between my background, and I add a ton of value, but I'm used more strategically, you know, where I'm part of like more monthly meetings than I am like weekly meetings, if that makes sense. Right now, InvestHer is actually a capital raiser for DeRosa's project, the 670 units. So we saw that as a cool way to kind of come together. But we're very careful. Like my husband and I know that like the day-to-day sitting next to each other is not that we'd ever sit next to each other, but you know what I mean? Like we did that and we just know that doesn't work for our marriage. Mm-hmm. So we are very mindful of like how we work together and how much we work together. Just because we want to, like, our marriage is first, and then being each other's kind of support is second. And again, I'm still very involved. I know everything that's going on. I know all the properties we're buying and all those sort of things, but we're mindful of that. There's a like almost like a step that can get crossed, and mm-hmm. we're really mindful of it, because then it takes over our world. And with little kids, we need to have some kind of balance. So that's what's working now. It doesn't mean we won't ever kind of work full throttle together again, like daily. But right now I'm more on a strategic part for DeRosa.
So with InvestHer, are you ever going to work with other GPs? Is that kind of in the plans? Yeah,
it's one of our thought processes. I mean, we're really cultivating a strong community of women who are quite honestly looking for passive investment. So we kind of started with DeRosa because, you know, I'm literally the co-founder of both. We didn't have to like vet the team too much, or, you know, there's, you know, so to speak. And I kind of know we're LPs in the project. We invest in our deal, like we're the GP, you know, so we trust our projects, of course, because we're literally investing in it along with our other LPs. But yeah, I think that's something that we're open to, you know, in the future with trusted syndicators and things. And we just kind of piloted it with DeRosa.
And what kind of, I know we talked about the pillars of mm-hmm. InvestHer. Do you guys do anything, like, do you have kind of like a one page like they do in, say, GoBundance? Do you have like a platform that like of these financial tools and things in the program? Is that kind of like part of what you're doing inside InvestHer?
Yeah, you know, we don't have one tool that necessarily we use. The big tool that we do for our members is an alignment kind of coaching planner. So we really encourage women to take their big goals and segment them into like actionable micro actions, because that's the biggest way that women or anyone gets stopped, right? We have a really big goal and we just do not know how to tackle it, or it's so big that we just don't tackle it. So our big thing is holding women, you know, accountable to creating those goals, and then chunking them down by quarter and by month, And then we have kind of monthly, like we call them alignment calls. So it's not just goal setting, right? Because we can set goals and then we look at our goals and like, I don't want to do that anymore. I was talking to a woman the other day and she's like, I've always wanted to syndicate. I've always wanted to syndicate. She goes, you know what? I don't think I want to do that anymore. It's not aligned with my lifestyle goals. And we're big fans of like women taking a step back and going, hey, what are my lifestyle goals here? I mean, I could achieve a goal to achieve it. I can buy a 100-unit apartment complex. So I said I can do it, but is that moving me towards my lifestyle goals, living life on my own terms? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. So we're really big into, Bo, a process of we call it our alignment planner, and then chunking that down on a monthly basis to help women move the needle. Then they're part of pods. So say, for example, they're doing an out-of-state investing pod. That pod mentor does supply different things, different tools to help women in the 6-month period, because that's how long they're on pods, to kind of bring them through to be effective in actually buying properties out of state. We have another woman who does single to multi. Well, sometimes that takes obviously different analysis of analyzing a single family home versus a 4-unit or a 6-unit. So she kind of supplies some tools around that. So the tools we supply tend to be more pod specific, and then think about like short-term rentals, whole different strategy. We have our pod mentor who just wrote a book for Bigger Pockets on short-term rentals, leading that one. And she talks a lot about, that process. So there's no one size fits all, but definitely from an alignment, goal setting, we have, and then we have like our one month monthly check-in, like what's working, what's not, what gets realigned, because it's all about realignment, right? I mean, you can set goals but it's that constant looking at it, which is what we do on a monthly basis, similar in some ways to the Go Abundance strategy, which I love the one sheet. I use that myself too.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that it's so important for people because a lot of times you feel alone in that maybe you're working at a W-2 job. People say like a W-2 job, it's not even, it's not the worst thing. Like everybody kind of puts down working for, as a W-2 job, but
it's not.
But the thing is like, I like what you said about a lot, these alignment meetings, because really maybe it's not in your deck of cards to quit your job. Maybe it's in your deck of cards to invest passively in a syndication and create legacy wealth that way. Or maybe it's not to buy multifamily properties. Maybe it's to buy a short-term rental, and you can get aligned into those pods and really figure out like what's your really big goal. Because you were talking earlier about having 300 investors, right? Like that's probably not the easiest thing when like an investor gets angry or upset at some point. Like you have to deal with all the and like that's what kind of like why I never got into syndicating or doing like larger deals at this point in my life, is because I was like, I just like to do it myself because I don't have to deal with people. And so do I look at people that are ultra successful in syndication and go, wow, they're doing really well financially and they're like crushing it, and like, but I don't know what's going on in the back. They're dealing with a lot of stuff. Or do I want to align myself and say, okay, my financial number is X per month, and I want as little of pretty much nothing to do to make that money every month. And maybe that's owning, 20 duplexes or 10 duplexes. And that gets me where I want to be. So I love how you have those different options, because I think it's important for people to really figure out what they want. Like at the end of the day, I know this gentleman, and he probably makes 30 or 40 grand passive, like it does nothing for it every month. And he's the happiest guy in the world. Then I know I get another guy that's, worth 100 million plus, and he just wants to grow and grow and grow. Right. And like, who are you? Like, I think, like you got to look, is 30 grand a month with very little like things to do, is that good for you? And that's great, right? Most people would probably be pretty happy. So I love that how you have these little breakout groups, because I think that's what people need to be surrounded by positive people. Because really real estate, although there's a lot of things that are complex about it, but the real estate between your ears, right, is what people need to do, because it's really being able to take that first step or go from owning 2 or 3 single family homes, buying like a 12-unit building. And some people can't make that jump unless they get around the right network. And so that's what you are creating here, have created. So that's awesome. I don't want to keep on too long. I think we've dove into a lot of really cool stuff. I'd love to have you back on the show at some point.
I love it.
What advice do you have for somebody that's listening and, like I know like right now, because real estate's done well, everybody's talking about real estate. Oh, real estate's great, this and that. I think what advice at this part in a like market cycle for people who want to get involved in real estate, where would you tell them to start? What would you tell them to do? Or maybe they have like 2 or 3 rentals and they really want to quit their job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now, because, you know, the deal flow, it's a hot market, right? Regardless of where, you know, if you're even single family or a large multi, I mean, there's multiple offers, right? So there's a competitiveness to the market, that, especially multifamily, that, you know, we didn't see even prior to COVID. I mean, we underwrote 250 deals last year as a team. I didn't underwrite those. Our team underwrote 250. That's a lot, right? And it sourced some opportunity, but so it's a different marketplace. First off, I think, and I don't say that to be discouraging. I say that because the level of competition is there. Now, having said that, there is always opportunity. And I think if you conservatively underwrite and you're willing to say no and walk away from properties that just don't make sense on your conservative underwriting, you'll be fine. And then there's going to be properties that work. You know, if you're an active investor, this might be a time to passively invest with some deals while, you know, the market shifts a little bit and there's maybe more opportunity for you to jump in. I'd also say if you're an active investor who wants to get into larger stuff, start seeing how you can maybe partner or help or be of service to these other, you know, these larger companies that have been around. Everyone needs money. Everyone needs deals. I mean, and everyone needs teams. So no company never needs any of those things, right? It's just how much of it do they need. So if you can add value on some level, there's always an opportunity for you. I think that the big thing I would say too is just that there's always a need on the affordable housing level. I don't mean the technical voucher affordable housing. I mean, literally people are able to afford to live where they're living, right? So if you think about what we're doing, that's why we're really focused on workforce housing, middle income, you know, kind of communities. We don't ever invest in, you know, class A type of environments. I'd even argue we're more B, C, you know, and depending on, you know, whose definition, you know, and I would just say that because affordable housing in areas that have strong rental growth, strong population growth, you don't want to dismiss the normal market conditions, but there's a lot of opportunity to provide, you know, places for people to live that they can afford. Just case in point, Winston-Salem. It's not Raleigh, it's not Durham, it's not the hottest North Carolina markets, but it's growing substantially. We've increased rents 4 times in 1 year, right? So it's still affordable in the realm of affordability, and it's such a strong asset for us because people are fleeing other areas and they're coming here because they can afford to live there more than other areas. So thinking about like that hot market, like what are those, you know, surrounding markets that are up and coming that aren't on any sort of best market list, but there are places that people are moving to for good reason. There's jobs moving there, there's industry moving there, or there's industry that's growing. I don't think that's bad advice for any market, whether it's downturn or an upturn. I'm also a big fan of diversified jobs. So getting into markets that there's a diversity of jobs for people to utilize and to go to and to be employed by. It's also just your hedge, you're mitigating risk. So you're in the error, and it should always be how can you mitigate risk? So if we're looking at a market we're looking literally, you know, all those sort of things. And worst comes to worst, what's your occupancy level? One of our properties, our portfolio, I think is 60%. If we're 6% occupied, we'll break even. That's pretty good, right? Because our goals, obviously, these properties are already, you know, almost at 90% occupied. But again, conservative. Conservative is the name of the game right now. Walking away from projects that don't make sense. Don't get your emotions involved, number 2. And there's always a way to get in, whether you can be of service to someone else or you can get into something that where most people are looking here, where can I look a little different? That's, you know, where we are right now. But there's deals to be had. There's opportunities everywhere. It's just, are we looking at it in the right way? And knowing what your worth is. Know what your worth is. Because if you know what you're good at and where you can add value, I bet you a larger operation needs your skill set. And you can learn alongside them, own a little bit of the GP or what have you, and then just it grows from there. You get your legs. I wish we did more of that, Bo. I wish we got involved in projects early on where we can just add value we took on a lot more risk early on. And for that, we had our path, right? And we learned, and I'm grateful for that. But it was a tough path, right? It's like you got knocked around a lot. And I don't know if we were in our 40s, if we would have done that. We were in our 20s. So we didn't have much to lose, or we didn't think we did. We were really, our being naive at that time for us was in our favor. I'm not naive anymore, right? So it's like, that's not, I wouldn't do that again, especially as we pivot. So that's my advice is there's always opportunities to be had. Just be careful, be conservative. And there's always something to get involved in. It's just a matter of what you're willing to give.
Yeah, I love that. Because I see a lot of people like in these short-term rental Facebook groups, and everybody's being so bullish, on like all these. And I go, okay, well, like the way I talk to people that are looking for financing, and they're buying this property that's, 4 years ago was probably 400,000. Now it's $800,000-$900,000 in 4 years time. Just mad appreciation. The numbers today look great, but I said, listen, as long as you're locking in cheap cost of funds, right? You can get cheap mortgage right now, 30-year fix, you're good. I said, you just got to like figure out if your occupancy doesn't stay at 75 or 74 or whatever it is today, stress test it, at 50% or 60% occupied on these, especially single family homes. On the short-term rentals, just make sure the thing still cash flows or breaks even. And this way, even if you go from 80 to 60% occupancy, you're still doing well and you're not going to be all stressed out. And yeah, I think that was really good advice you gave there. And the other takeaway of many, like for me, I see myself like a lot of my friends are in real estate, and I haven't done big projects myself. I financed them, but I haven't been a GP or anything. But where I can add value is that I have a lot of investors. I could potentially become a small part of a GP and do what I'm good at, which is, talking to people and telling them why it's a good deal and so forth. Get my feet wet. So you just gave me a huge nugget. Like that might be the place, because quite honestly, although I do loans for a living, I am not the underwriting type. I don't want to underwrite deals.
You want to talk to people.
Yeah. I want to TTP, right? Talk to people, right? That's what I do. That's what I do well. So we this was actually a good call today. I owe you $100 for the session.
I'll send you my PayPal account.
But that's the other thing too. When I do these podcasts, is that it's good to interview people in a selfish way.
Yeah.
Because I'm always learning. I'm always learning from other people. And also it's good for everybody that gets to listen, because you get to listen to different people that have different skill sets all over the world that invest in different assets. So really appreciate your time. I'm gonna link your Facebook group below, and the website for the group. So people that are looking for a group to get aligned with, this would be a fantastic, because I could just tell from our conversation that it's going to be a very amazing group to be a part of. So I hope you hear this and it resonates with you. And thanks everybody for watching. And thank you so much for joining us, Liz.
Absolutely. My pleasure.